scheme is also a postgraduate diploma in sports sciences, which we conceptualized some time back. That has come true this year, and a student has joined one number, but nevertheless one should grow big. That person, if he grows big, nothing to beat that. So yeah, this is the, it's a small group, sir. So yeah.
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 Thank you very much, ma'am, and hello, everybody. Uh, Ma'am has introduced me slightly in a more in a manner which perhaps I don't deserve, but then yeah, we have worked for a very long time together. And when she came, the concept, I was always thinking that a sports person and the coach should always have good communication skills. And I felt that in our system of education, we were doing more of sports coaching and stamina building, endurance building, speed building, and other coaching techniques. But we were not doing much about the personality development of the trainees whom we had, and they were all very good level sports persons. They have represented the country or their state or university, but then they were too busy on the ground, and they could not. Most of them could not, enhance or sharpen their skills of communication, and which at times used to be very embarrassing when you see people winning a medal for your country, and when they are brought on television to say a few words on their victory, most of them fumble at times, and that is very embarrassing for the nation. So when Madam came to me a long time back, maybe a decade and a half back, a decade back, then I lapped up the opportunity that at least some people who have academic interests and huge appreciation for sports and involvement in sports have come forward themselves voluntarily to associate with us and give our students this skill which we had not given in the last 50 years that the course we were running. And I personally felt that it is not the communication between the child, I mean the athlete and the coach only that matters, because first of all it is the coach and the athlete. The coach should understand that what I am training, what I am teaching, the child is able to grasp. Then number two, whether the child is able to understand what I am doing, then the child is able to implement what the coach is telling. On the other hand, the athlete should also be able to communicate to the coach what he wants and what actually he requires in the training field. Whether he feels that more of strength training is required, more of endurance training is required, more of some muscle building. Supposing it's a javelin thrower and he feels that his lower back is not up to the level of the coaching that the coach is giving. If he's asked to maybe throw a 50 throws a day, and maybe his back is not supporting it, his arm is not supporting it, his shoulders are not supporting it, then it will cause injury. There, the athlete should also have the courage or the skill to tell the coach very politely that this is what is required. Then, as there is a sports medicine person also, if he practices later, if he or she practices later, there is another skill that the coach should have is to communicate with the sports scientists also, because the sports science today is very, very important, and most of the coaches are not very inclined to get a sports scientist in. And it is not one sports scientist. Now, at least there are 10 fields of psychology, anthropometry, biomechanics, kinesiology, psychology, nutrition. I can go on with these lists, but then there has to be communication between them, and there has to be a communication which supports the athlete. So communication overall is very, very important in sports. Then I, like I said, you go to an international competition. There is media, there is electronic media, there is print media. Now there are so many other channels of mass media which go on. So all this put together, there is a huge requirement that is, we should not burden the athlete or the coach, but somehow instill the skills of communication in them. So this is a very highly technical thing which Madam and the faculty must be telling you. As far as I am concerned, I would like to slightly get you into the history of sports in India and how the coach education programs started, and the other aspects which would maybe enlighten you a bit more, and maybe in the 60 years of 55 years of Indian sports history. I have been there for about 40 years, so I have covered the major portion of this journey of the development of Indian sports. So, to begin with, in 1953-54, the first time government of India thought of promoting sports, and it was the Rajkumari Amrit Kaur coaching scheme, which was started in 53-54, and Rajkumari Amrit Kaur was a sports enthusiast. She was the first health minister of independent India, and she impressed upon the then Prime Minister to have something which would promote sports. So a scheme was started, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur sports coaching scheme, and it was started for the entire budget of 75,000 rupees in 53-54, and it grew. It had 5 disciplines in like athletics, tennis, table tennis, hockey, and cricket. And there was 1 foreign coach and 4 Indian coaches who were engaged in that. Then with that only, they first started the train the trainer type of program, which we call it today. They started to build some cadre of coaches who would go out and again disseminate the knowledge of maybe cricket or table tennis or tennis, whatever was there, to the country and the youngsters. And that scheme carried on till 1958, when the National Institute of Sports was established in Patiala. And National Institute of Sports was established with the twin objectives of coach education program and training of the elite athletes, which were which was very limited that time. And that time, the number of athletes at the top level were very less. And after the 1952 Asian Games, which was the first Asian Games conducted at New Delhi, there were some stars who emerged out of that, and those people were there. They needed some training facilities, and the first training facilities were established at National Stadium, and then after National Stadium in New Delhi, India Gate, and after that it went on to the National Institute of Sports, where every athlete of the country who is known today has practiced at the National Institute of Sports, whether it is Major Dhyan Chand, Gurbachan Singh Randhawa, you name it, Pullela Gopichand, P.T. Usha, Prakash Padukone. Every athlete has something to do with National Institute of Sports. And in 1982, when the Asian Games in Delhi were conducted, we had the first mega structures of sports in the country, and Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium was constructed, which had a capacity of 75,000. It was a staggering capacity that was at that point of time. Then we had the Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium at Delhi, which had a 25,000 capacity. Then we had the shooting ranges, the first modern shooting ranges in the country, Dr. Karni Singh shooting range at Tughlakabad. Then the swimming pool was there, Talkatora swimming pool it was called then, and naturally the National Stadium was there. So 5 stadiums were built, and the National Games were conducted. The Asian Games were conducted in 1982, and from that games we had a lot of superstars who emerged in sports, like Bahadur Singh was there in shot put, and then there were youngsters such as Shakti Singh, and a lot of many. P.T. Usha was just on the edge of making a breakthrough. 86 onwards she came on, and that was maybe the first major step after the 1952 Asian Games. The second major leap was the Asian Games of 1982, and from there on we actually started some serious modern training of sports in the country, because we had the state-of-art facilities in athletics and judo, boxing, wrestling, weightlifting, shooting, swimming, and National Stadium had hockey. So we had about 10 disciplines in which we had the state-of-art facilities. And after that, we carried on in good stead because 1986 Asian Games, 1990 Asian Games, Commonwealth Games are held in the same year of the Asian Games. We did pretty well and started improving. Then the major thing that came to us was the 2010 uh, Commonwealth Games. And Commonwealth Games, now I'm talking about only the preparation of the elite athletes. The Commonwealth Games, we started preparation for the training of athletes in 2007. And the government opened up a lot in giving the players. We gave a lot of support staff. We gave some publicity also, like we were talking about communication. We gave some publicity to our athletes because before that there was no effort from the institution itself to give publicity. Whatever the press would pick up, it would pick up. Otherwise, nothing. We started some media management, and then some stars were there. That time, boxing was our big event, shooting was our big event, archery was our big event in 2010, and uh, in the Asian and the Commonwealth Championship, uh, which was held in Delhi in 2010, we had the best performance ever. We had crossed the 100 mark and we had 101 medals in 2010. And then the Gunzhou Asian Games followed a month later. And there we had about 67 medals, which was again the best ever India had in the Asian Games. So uh, a general euphoria was created, a general thrust was given, the inertia was broken, and we got into a great speed and a mode where we were on the up. And the 2012 London Olympics, we got the best ever medal tally of 6 medals. And that was a time when we thought we would be moving up, there, but then uh, an unexplainable Rio Olympics happened, and then only we had only 2 medals, and we still are wondering. I mean, just thinking, what happened, because we thought that if we had 6 in London, we would be maybe a double figure in Rio. But then again, we have got our things acts together, and we are now again planning 2020. The games were there in Japan, Tokyo, but then now due to the COVID situation, now it is in 2021. In the meanwhile, the government of India also thought that there should be a greater thrust on sports, and the Khelo India scheme was launched. And the Khelo India scheme has 12 verticals, and out of the 12 verticals, nothing that is required in sports have been left out, right from infrastructure development to broad basing of sports to talent identification to having big games, Khelo India games, university games. Then we had to conduct the women games, rural games, so all that could not happen. So a big thrust to sports have been given in the past 3 years, 2017 onwards, with the Khelo India scheme. And in that, a very interesting thing that is happening is the talent identification, because whenever we talk, or whenever you must be talking to your friends or within your own social circles about sports, you will say that there is so much talent on the grassroots, and India cannot tap it 130 crores and something. So that perhaps that was always a realization that there is a lot of talent in proportion to the population that we have. But then we had these talent scoutings done in 86, 87, 88 when from the grassroots, from real wilderness, we got players like Shamlal Limbaram in archery who were world champions. Then we had Dinko Singh in boxing, whom incidentally I got him from an orphanage, and we trained him to be an Asian Games gold medalist boxer. And after 28 years in Bangkok Olympics, Bangkok Asian Games, India got a gold medal in boxing. So there was some lot of good athletes emerged from the talent scouting that was done from uh, early talent. What we call now is that people who have not played the sport, we select them on the basis of their skills and their motor abilities, whether how much they can run, what is their flexibility, what is their reaction time, what is their endurance time, and all that. So now, Khelo India has a talent identification vertical, and the big thrust is being given on that. In that, we will go to the schools and conduct a test for between the age group of 5 and 8. There are 3 tests that are conducted, and then between 8 to 18, the tests are conducted, and then tests are conducted, in say a 50-meter run or standing broad jump or standing high jump, or if you throw a medicine ball, how far you throw. And there are for every age group, say 12-year-old will throw this much, 13-year-old will throw this much. So it is we have these tables to measure how good, whether it is a good or average or a very good or outstanding performance. And then at the moment, we have in 1 year's time, we have done tests on 22 lakh school children with a target of doing about 2.5 crores each year. And the ultimate target, the age group between 8 to 18 or 20 is about 25 crores children we have. So the target perhaps is that. But then with 2 crores each, one doesn't know. In 10 years' time, maybe we can reach it. Or maybe we can accelerate the pace. That we'll try. And then the outliers are then maybe 10% from the top and 10% from the bottom will be removed. And then the data will be made available on the website so that anybody who wants to use the data and select the children can select them and put them in their schools, academies, state sports centers, and then train them further. This is a very novel thing because if you see the education system, any big exam, whether it is the IITs or the national law schools or all these things, they will conduct an exam and they will put everything on the board, and then as per the rankings, people go in their centers. But here, the liberty will go to the academies, the state governments who would like to involve and get these data from our testing. Then they will test their children again to revalidate the data, and then further on they would decide in which sports disciplines whether a person can be a good athlete or a good boxer or a good hockey player. So all that is for the state government or the user to find out. The other aspect of talent identification is from the viewpoint of people who are playing, the children who are playing. Supposing there is an under 12, under 14, under 16 age group hockey tournament or a football tournament, there our scouters will go who are international sports persons themselves and see for themselves whether the present the boys or girls who are playing are good enough to be selected and brought into and trained for being for excelling at the national level or the international level. So talent identification is a huge thing, and now it is coming up internationally as another section within the sports education program, where we have in our NIS curriculum also we have inducted the talent identification as a major issue, because the realization now after so many years is that unless you can scout talent, whom will you train? You cannot waste time on a person if you feel that the person will never be at the international level. And after maybe about 60 years of sports promotion, we have been in a position now. We have been in a position now that we should now think that and aim that we select say 100 people for athletics, 100 meters. So one of them would emerge as a champion. And Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, we have good enough medals. Now what we have to do is to plan for the Olympics and the World Cup and World Championships. we need now world beaters, because In athletics, we have a javelin thrower called Neeraj Chopra, who is junior world champion. Then we have another athlete who is a world champion in the juniors. Then we have Jeremy, who is a world champion in is a youth Olympic gold medalist in weightlifting. So now at the junior level, maybe under 19, under 21, we have world champions, and now we are aiming to have international champions, not international champions, world champions and Olympic champions. Then under the Khelo India scheme, you people must be noticing that wherever you go and wherever you are traveling, there are huge stadiums built, but there are no takers, very bad maintenance. The sports facilities are deteriorating, the equipments are deteriorating. If there is a hostel, the hostel is not in very good condition for the children to stay there. So what the Port Authority is doing, it has asked the state governments to send proposals to for gap funding. Gap funding, maybe you understand that if there is a stadium and it requires say 10 crores of per annum expenditure or needs a modernization which would cost about 5 crores. So we get proposals from the state government and we are adopting one mega center in each state to begin with, and then what is available with the state government will invest, and what is required up to a limit of say 5 crores or something. The Sports Authority will give under the Khelo India scheme to build it up into a stadium where modern sports, our standards are that if we touch a stadium, it should be built up into or renovated into a very, very modern sports infrastructure which has sports sciences also, sports science equipment and staff. So that is the gap funding, and state level mega centers and state level small centers we have also thought of in the Khelo India scheme, in which the sports persons who have retired can select a venue and run the center, and we will provide all the salary to the international sports person who runs it, and then the equipment to run the sport, and then a one-time grant to make the field of play. Supposing it's a volleyball field or a football field, so we give them some money to make that worth its while. And then about 1,000 centers of this type are to be opened. The small centers, we call it in this Khelo India scheme, and mostly we have preferences, say J&K, Leh, Ladakh, maybe 400 each, and then all the union territories, Daman, Diu, like that. We have Pondicherry, we have another 300 centers. So like that, it is expected that say maybe in 2-3 years time, sports infrastructure will be available with all the sports persons who are willing to play and who are the youngsters who want to to play in a smaller small towns and places. Then under the coach education program, which is run by NSNIS Patiala, a lot of the modifications have been carried out, and we have built in some modern requirements which are there, such as emotional intelligence and skills, communication skills and other soft skills, so that a person or a coach who, when he gets out, the requirements of a coach in say 20 years from now, in the 70s and today, are multifold now. The coach has more responsibilities. The coach is more answerable. The coach is more visible with the television and the other social media coming in. So the coach also needs to be educated differently now, so that he's educated and prepared differently, so that he could face the world when he goes out and becomes a coach. So as sports skills are important, but we have realized of late that communication skills, management skills, and other handling the emotions, emotional intelligence is a big subject now in every sphere of life. So emotional intelligence in sports is also gathering a lot of steam, and now specialization. It is a specialization now. So all this put together, the requirements in coach education have also changed, and the National Center for Sports Coaching is also envisaged in the NS Patiala, which maybe it will come up in a year or two. And coach education is also moving very fast, and sports scientists and people of the sports media and other things have also have gained a lot of importance. So I would like that all of you who are doing these communication courses also take some interest majorly in sports, and go out to the field and play, because the problem is that when we get scientists, when we get analytics who are doing the data analysis, they are very happy with their laptops and their rooms and their cushy chairs, and they don't know what it means to be in the field and work hard. So all of you who are, I mean, you are all youngsters and very young. So if you are using the fields, wonderful. If you are not using the fields, please use the fields, and then only you could, come anywhere near a sports person, and have the feeling, because you don't know what it means to jog for 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes, or on a Sunday or a Saturday, which you feel is a aram ka din, to relax for any training that happens. That is a day when the coach will take you for a 20 kilometers run, and that is the weekend for a sports person. So all that is for him, it is a great pleasure. But then I would really strongly suggest that all of you have a feel of the fields, and do some workouts. Going to the gyms do not help. It has to be a personal workout, and work more with your own body weights. There are hundreds of exercises. You people are must be referring to YouTube for other things. Refer to YouTube to work out for your own body weight exercises. You don't need anything. You don't need a dumbbell also to work out. And like Madam was saying, I am now 60 plus, but my mind and body works well. And so I have never worked in a gym. I only worked with my own body weight, which is too much anyway. So thank you very much, ma'am. And anything the students would like to ask, I'm willing to answer. I am not a teacher, so I can't give a 1 hour lecture. I am a person from the field. You put me in the field, I will work for 2 hours. So, so this is what I had to tell and what I had to say. If anything, madam, you or the students would like to ask, I would answer.
Yeah, I have big list of questions.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, tell me.
But I'll
Yeah.
always want students to ask. If they don't ask, I'll ask.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, guys.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Shiva Shankar, and
Hi.
I just want to thank you. It was really a motivational kind of speech you gave in the end about how we should be on the field and use our experience in that area as well. So, I just want to ask a question related to the Kalo India.
Yeah.
It's just that when I searched in Wikipedia, it said that every year around best 1,000 kids will be annual sponsorship for 5 lakhs for 8 years.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It is happening. Yeah, we have about an over about 4,000 children already with us. Yes.
Uh,
The scheme
so,
is
sir,
about six. Yeah, tell
sorry,
me. Tell me.
no, in this era of pandemic, how do you keep track of the students whether they are, uh, working out or doing their trainings and routines
Yeah.
regularly like that?
1 month into the pandemic, April, mid of April, all of you in their homes, we were working, we were coming to office from 4th of April, and we still are coming to office. Whole of Delhi was closed, whole of India was closed, and we were working on it. And we came out with a online coaching program for the coaches and the for their own discipline, and then for the sports sciences. So that was attended for the coaching disciplines by about 5,000 coaches, and for the sports sciences for about maybe 10,000 people. Then we conducted an exam through the National Testing Authority, which is the ultimate authority which tests for everybody. So we gave them certificates and they qualified. And then through these people whom we had trained, we had made an e-Pathshala for each sports discipline. You know how a person or how a child who is say 6 years to 8 years would train for gymnastics, how a child for 6 years to 8 years will train for football, and every day 2 hours was e-Pathshala, and so that everybody was in their homes, and even we had requested the elder maybe elder brother, sister of our child, or maybe the father, mother, whoever is interested, because nobody had anything to do. So they were sitting there and watching whatever was to be required. If possible, we had spaced it in such a manner that the child could also practice along with within their rooms and confines. Okay, we understand that the cardios couldn't have been done. There wouldn't have been any running or something like that. But then the basic exercises which could be done in a room or maybe an outside veranda or somewhere or on the rooftop was done. Maybe a hockey demonstration was done for the rooftop, which is about say 5 meters or 7 meters span. So each discipline, 20 disciplines, sports disciplines, we had conducted e-Pathshala for I think 3.5 months. And now all the e-Pathshala, if you go to the YouTube, you will find the e-Pathshala which is already loaded on the YouTube. Now the children are coming out and they can always refer back to those videos and train. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, more questions. Aditya, Anjali, Pratik, Satvik, Malaika, Malika.
Hello, sir. I'm Satvik here.
Yeah. Hi.
Sir, I wanted to ask that there are various like stadiums in my own city, Lucknow. I'm from Lucknow. There are many stadiums which have been constructed, but the facilities haven't been maintained. Like the one even in my hometown, Faizabad, the sports complex isn't in the best of conditions. So, is the state government responsible for this, or is the central government? And what is being done on the part of the governments to take care of these facilities? Because I am pretty sure that there are many unpolished diamonds in terms of sports persons who are waiting for the right opportunity to come to their way.
No, actually, these stadiums in whole of UP, we have one center in Lucknow. That is what we run. The Sports Authority of India runs.
Yes, sir.
And
I know about that.
all others are with the state government. And when I talked about the gap funding, then you have those in Lucknow. You have the KD Singh Babu Stadium. You have the badminton stadium, and all those stadiums that you have. And it is not only UP. It is like every state has at least one stadium in every district headquarters, made at some time or the other, and across the country. And I think most of it is not being maintained. So that is why we have this scheme for mega centers. But then the central government, the sports, as per the constitution, is a state subject. What the government of India does is only, helping the states. So now, when I told you about the gap funding scheme, the mega center schemes, so there we can only cater to only this much, because our funds are not. We have also done a census of all the sports facilities that are available in the country, whether it is a stadium or a mini stadium or a school facility, and in that, we can't. I mean, it is enormous, too many, though most of it is not worth using. So all this like your Faizabad center, then you have a lot of facilities in Gorakhpur, you have Ghazipur. So we are very well aware, because once we have conducted the census, we know where the centers are, and working for so many years, maybe I have seen 30-40% of them. But then the fact is that the state government has to take care. It is a state subject, the properties of the state government. So that's it. We can only take care of maybe one or two centers in the state. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So before these students ask you further questions or whatever, I just wanted to ask you one thing. See, now, I mean, as I understand, the children whom we adopt under
Yeah.
sports quota,
Yeah.
they belong to different schools. They study in different schools,
Yeah.
and there will be a coach in that school itself, or in a particular place they go and play. Some such convenience has been done, right, sir? We
Yeah.
have had sports schools only in India. We
Yeah.
conceptualized sports schools where they are hosted and other things, like but still, why are we failing in some areas where, you know just to give you one example, it happened with me. There were two girls who were from sports school, and it was my daughter was, I think I have given you this example, but for the sake of students knowledge, I want you to speak about it. And they stayed in my home during the coaching period. It was for the nationals, basketball nationals. And the coach of the state team asked if I can host them. I said no problem. Anyway, my daughter is also there in the team. I can give them food and shelter. That is not a problem. So whatever I did for my daughter to, during those particular time, I did the same for these two girls also. But believe me, 2 days before the final, or final selection, they ran away from my house.
Why?
I have no clue.
Uh-huh.
They ran away from my house, and I mean, I don't want to make any allegations.
Mm.
Actually, yeah, they didn't have shoes and all, and I was not so financially fit to get them. Those days, if it was today, I would have got them shoes also. But those days I was not financially so well off, so I couldn't buy them shoes, which I could get for my daughter and other things. Maybe, do you think maybe they felt, why could the reason be? Because representing a state at the nationals would have made them go further, no, sir?
Yeah, this is not a one-off phenomenon, because the structure of sports in this country is like, we are there, the government is there, and this national federations are there. So national federations under the Olympic Charter, they have to have their own autonomy. We cannot interfere in that, and they run there is as per their charter, which after the sports code has come, some at least uniform way of functioning has been there for all the federations. But the fact of it is that, and the reality is that they have to look after all this. They have to look after how the Indian team goes, how the Indian team prepares, how the Indian team. But what is happening in practical is that all the national teams preparation we are doing, the government of India is doing, but the selection of the teams the federations are doing, because there they say that it's our autonomy and it is our way to work, that we will be selecting the teams and giving it to us, and then we train them. So as far as the government is concerned, with the best of intentions, we take that they have selected the best and they have given it to us. But when a national happens, then say a Karnataka state or a Tamil Nadu state or a Bihar state or a West Bengal state, there are state federations. Then the state federations will select the players, maybe a put a camp like you said, and then uh, see after the board lodging and kitting of the players. Some of the federations do it. Most of the federations take money from the players, because there aren't much sponsors at that level. Say for a maybe I don't know what, say a volleyball team of Karnataka, who will give them money to go and participate somewhere in Himachal Pradesh, because a local sponsor will not get any mileage. If something is happening in Hyderabad or a Bangalore, then the local person will give you some money. Okay, you wear my T-shirt and you play. So some people will say, see. But then the fact is that today getting into sport, maybe a basketball sport. Say 20 years from now, there were no basketball shoes. There were no attires. Only the same knicker and the T-shirts would do. Today, basketball playing kits are different. The shoes are very expensive. So the sport is getting it is getting
Costly.
expensive, yeah, because whatever, everything has a special shoe. Even a kabaddi was without shoes. Now kabaddi also has special shoes and special attire. So all that the state for a state team, the state federation has to look after. The state government has to give money for the team to go. In some case, most of the cases, the state government pays the money to go and have camps and prepare for the teams. But supposing in some disciplines the state team is not very good in hockey, so maybe the government won't give the money, because you go and so X state team will go and be last in the competition. So why should the state government go? So all that happens. So it will take some time, because money doesn't percolate to that level, whether it is a district level or state level.
So, do you think, because as an academician, I have also found that in many of the exams, because these people will be in the field, they'll be tired, they come back to college feeling tired, things like that. So they may not be in a position to focus much on their academics like others do, because India is a country where jobs are provided based on your
Yeah,
academic merit, unfortunately
true.
not on your practical
Yeah,
oriented merit.
yeah.
So in keeping that in mind, do you think the recent NEP, where there is a lot of provision for sports persons, margins are being, is it going to help the sports field in any way?
Like the US universities are, the sports persons study there and they get credits for the achievements that they have in the sports field. And that is why in US a world champion is produced from the university only. Here the problem is that some universities are liberal. They are liberal. They don't have a policy. The principal may say in a college that, for myself also, when I used to miss my exams in my students' days, special exam was conducted because of the principal, not because of the university rules. And ultimately, I studied commerce, and ultimately, the college of commerce in the university, it became a sports college, because the principal would be like that. That okay, the person is not there for BCom part one, we'll hold the exam later. So it is a dispensation. It is the will. It is not a policy, but it has to be a policy, because unless you give credit for the achievement of sports also, uh,
Yeah.
so a person loses. Even supposing you pass with bad marks, doesn't help. And you are say a India champion or a Asian Games champion or a South Asian Games. If you are Olympic champion, then no, then you don't have to study also. But then the fact is that if you are Asian Games gold medalist, then also you can have so much of advantages. But then if you are a mediocre or a national level champion and all that, then those marks should be there to put a person into some good bracket. Because here, if you score a 60% or 62%, they don't consider you much. These days, the marks are so much now. So it has to be something like that, and maybe in the NEP, it will happen, because Now the awareness is there. The country is looking after in the highest level, in the Prime Minister's level. Maybe every 45 days the Prime Minister emphasizes on Fit India and Khelo India. So it is not that, now that the government is conscious, it will happen. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, you have any other question?
Ma'am, I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, it's a similar line to which Nandini ma'am has said. So, I've actually studied in Kochi, Kerala. I did my schooling here, and in this, the thing is, what I want to ask was that how can we change the mindset of teachers or educators who only focus on education or academics and no focus on giving in health and fitness? See, I can give you a personal example. For example, when I was back in school, I wasn't there in the football team. And whenever I had morning practice, I used to come to class a little late. And the teachers would be like, why are you playing sports and not attending classes on time and not giving importance to education and things like that? I mean, at a time like this in 2016 and 17, I mean, the educators are saying this to us. I mean, this kind of attitude, when can we change that? What
No,
can be done about this?
no, changing is not either madam's or my within my this thing. But the point is that just now I gave you an example, and there are schools. Fortunately, there are several schools who give that kind of liberty, and once they know that a boy or a girl is playing, they don't interfere much whether you are coming to class, not coming to class, and all that. And they give you a lot of because I'll give you an example. My daughter, elder daughter, was a shooter, and she was studying in one of the most reputed schools in the country. And then when she started shooting, then there was some problem because they said that she started at a big man sport. But once she was Delhi champion, then she was North Zone champion, then she had an India ranking. Then they were not bothered. They were more bothered about promoting the school and saying that the school has produced a champion and the school has produced this thing, that thing, even though the school did nothing for her own sport. But the point is that how a school takes it, because it cannot be a reform and it cannot be a systematic, symptomatic change, because it has to be something which maybe, like madam said, in the new education policy, if it is built in, then they will follow. There are two ways of bringing a change. Either you force a change, which the people will follow. Maybe if it is in the NEP, then people will have to follow it. Otherwise, it depends on even the same school with the change principle. Till yesterday, the school would have done something very big for for sports. But once the principle changes, sports will stop. You say, you take the example of Tata's. JRD Tata was there. Then Naval Tata was there. Till then, a sportsman was the king in Tata's, and all the top sportsmen were in Tata's. And Jamshedpur Tata, not Bombay Tata or some big place. And once then some other chairman came, and last 25 years there is nothing. No player have been employed in the Tatas. No players have been promoted in the Tatas. Otherwise, a player who was 10th pass would be a general manager because he has been an Asian medalist in Tata Sons, and Tata is a very professional organization. So it is not that change. We cannot say that it will change. It has to come gradually, as and the point is that we had very limited success in sports. As that grows, then the number of champions will spread. Now we have about 6 sports in which we have medals in the Olympics, 4 sports. If we have 20 sports in which we have medals in the Olympics, automatically everything will change. So it has to change from the sports person, and that is why I requested all of you to go to the fields, because it will change through the young India. It will change through the very, very young India, which is today 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, 15 years. It will not change through a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old. So if we have to start from there, start playing, because we don't go to the fields. Fields are empty, stadiums are empty, nothing happens. So it is not, we are thinking that somebody will come and change. We have to start, and we have to be that change. That's it.
Sir, at this juncture, one thought comes to my mind.
Yeah, ma'am.
There were, I'm talking to you from Karnataka perspective. There
Yeah.
were many organizations like HAL, and then there was an MEG, then uh, then ITI. There were so many teams, so many basketball team. I'm
Yeah.
talking to you from basketball perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were so many teams, and they gave job Vijaya Bank, right? All these banks also
Yeah.
gave Indian Overseas Bank. So
Yeah.
many banks also had their teams.
Mhm.
But when gradually recruitment part,
Mhm.
I'm not the teams could be still there, but what I'm talking to you is they were recruited earlier,
Mhm.
but now the recruitment is not happening. When I asked about why the recruitment is not happening, they
Mhm.
said, see, it's a kind of an investment, because these sports person, they hardly come to office, and we have to take they don't learn the skills of the office, and finally when they are out of playing, they become a burden.
Yeah.
So, I know Pratik and Anjali have raised their hands to ask questions, but nevertheless, my question is: should, as we train the sports person, is it not our responsibility also to give them a mindset that they also should be, employable? They should, when they go to the office, it is not just that they are playing. They have to, you were a sports person yourself,
Yeah.
you have represented country, and you have done so much wonders for the country. But nevertheless, when it comes to employment, after that, did you not hone your skills towards employment? So this attitude also should be developed among sports person. So some work should happen in this particular regards.
The sports persons who are with us, uh, right from the tribals and all that, whom we had scouted from the villages and all those places. So we had arranged tuitions for them. We had arranged open school exams for them. And right, none of them studied. Their generations did not study, but they studied, and some of them are in CRPF, some of them are all over, and some of them are in state government departments. So they are there, and we are very well aware that, if a sports person's life, maybe if he becomes an international, it will be 10 years. If he doesn't become an international, if he's just a national medalist, then he goes out very fast. Maybe in 5, 7 years, he will be out of sport. So there also he needs some skill. So now within the Khelo India, like somebody asked me that what happened to the people who are we have taken in. So now we are tying up with schools directly who will take all our children, whoever we admit to our schemes. It is there informally, it is already there. And say a Bangalore STC child is going to some school and studying there also and appearing for the board exams and all that. So that way we are very well aware. But then, we have about 15,000 children in all in this Sports Authority of India scheme. So we can only look after these 50. I mean, we can only draw up a system in which these 15,000 children study also and appear in their exams and have some vocational training and all that. But then, there are lakhs of people who are playing otherwise. So the numbers here to be dealt are, too much. And unless, all the state schools which are there, state sports schools, they also take care, and all the academies, several academies there across the country now. So all these people have to be, I mean, they have to be conscious because our children live with us. So they have to go to school. They have no option. They have to go to school, and if they fail for a second year, we put them off. So, so that way, unless it's a very bright child, then we'll put them to tuition and all that. I mean, a bright sports person, then we'll put them to tuition and everything if he fails. Otherwise, if it's a mediocre child, then we'll have to, he has to make way from some other good athlete who studies also. So it is a fact that people, and then if supposing there is a BA pass and he goes into a service, maybe HAL or Air Force or Army or anywhere, and then 20 years he plays. They have their inter battalion this thing until 45 he plays. That is what happens. Not, I mean, in these departments, players don't retire unless they get an injury till 40, 42, 43. And then they become a coach. Then they will continue till 50. So, a person who has not worked for 50 years of his life, has only played, then you have to give him a job which he likes. Then he should be given a ground maintenance. Then he should be given a hostel maintenance. Now, if you put him straight into the accounts, then he's gone. So, it is both ways. Like in the railways also, there are hundreds of jobs. And then if a person retires at 50 or they say 43, 44, and you straight away put him into a ticket checker's duty, international sports person checking tickets, and how much abuses a ticket checker gets. So, you have to give them a job which is worth their while. Yeah, worth their while, not like, nobody will like to work. I also would not like to work from tomorrow if I'm late, but then one has to work. Yeah.
Yeah, Anjali wants to ask you a question. Yeah, Anjali.
Hello, sir. This is Anjali. It's been a
Yeah.
privilege to be able to listen to you. I am a sports person, and my sister is also a sports person. She is slightly more accomplished than I am. She
Mhm.
is a mountaineer, and
Mhm.
she's practicing to, climb the Everest.
Yeah.
So my question was that because mountaineering is not a very conventional sport, it's not part of the Olympics or the Asian Games. So how much focus and how much um, what do you call it? Okay, how much focus does the government, put onto these sort of sports that are not very conventional, and how much does the government encourage these sort of sports? Because it's very rare. Because I'm a swimmer, and I have different aims to my sister, but there was, I think, about a year ago, a 16-year-old girl from Jaipur who crossed the English Channel. And I think I only remember reading a couple of news reports about it, and it was not very well covered, nor was it, further encouraged, etc., etc. How I was just wondering if there are any future plans, or if it's already being done by the government to, promote unconventional sports like mountaineering or stuff that do not, necessarily get the country medals.
No, like off late, I mean, last 2, 3 years, maybe 5 years. Uh, Previously, winter sports, nobody would even look at winter sports in India. But then, slowly now we have started planning for it, and then funding the winter sports events. Similarly, when you say somebody cross the English Channel or whatever, it has, firstly, if it is once in a lifetime, then to get noticed also is an issue. But then you had Bula Chaudhary, if you are a swimmer, then you must be knowing Bula Chaudhary. You know Bula Chaudhary?
Yeah.
You know Bula Chaudhary?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So she was a persistent and a continuous performer, and she is as big a star as any, maybe a Khazan Singh or somebody in swimming, isn't it? So the point is that, as far as mountaineering is concerned, mountaineers, now we are giving even the national award for mountaineering, if you are aware, along with the Arjun Awards and all. In the National Sports Awards, there is an award for mountaineering also. So it is not that the government is not looking at mountaineering, but then if you go through the website of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, there are funds for the preparation and all that of the mountaineers, and then since it's a girl who is preparing or planning to scale the Mount Everest, I think there would be encouragement if you really pursue it, because one thing slightly sad in the government is that it takes a bit of time, and if you pursue it maybe through the ministry or my madam knows how the ministry works because she has been applying and doing things in the ministry. So if she is really putting in some effort, then you can write a mail to the Secretary of Sports, or better write straight to the minister that this is her achievement and this is what she plans and this is the kind of money that would be required. So all that has to be done. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
If,
Pratik.
if there's anything more, you can ask Madam. She can get in touch with me and it can be done. Okay.
Anjali, that was for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Pratik, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, hello sir, I'm Pratik. Actually, my
Yeah.
question, I think it's sort of answered now after what Ma'am and Anjali asked, but still, okay, what I was gonna ask was,
Mm.
what is the process that you follow to make sure you nurture a talent when you spot an able talented athlete? Because I mean, we have seen some very talented athletes in the past who later faded away. And I remember looking at Yuki Bamri when Australian Open in 2009 in junior circuit, and I was really excited that he would be the future of Indian singles tennis, but he just did not live up to the expectations later. He just faded away. So, coming back to the question, how is the nurturing of a talent today different from what it was 10 years ago?
If you talk about Yuki Bhamri or Somdev Burman and all those people, uh, tennis is a different system altogether. Tennis is, firstly when you start playing tennis, you you play tennis, and then after that, when you really want to represent and go up in the ladder, then you have all those satellite tournaments. Have you any idea about tennis that way? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you have to go through the various satellite training and all other things, and then you get those points, and then you are placed. Otherwise, then you go to the international circuits, which have these small points, and rankings are improved. And only when you get a specific ranking, then you get into a satellite tournament, which maybe gives you a free entry or gives you some wild card, or gives you some money to play in semi-finals, finals, quarter-finals, and all that. So it is how much you play and where you reach, and then the management of it. If you have to, uh, first thing is that you have to have that injury management. Firstly, the prevention, and then the management of the injury, which perhaps bothered both Somdev Burman and I'm talking about Somdev Burman because Somdev Burman and Yuki Bhamri perhaps were the only two people who came after that stock of Mahesh Bhupati and Leander and all those players. So that way, tennis is a different ballgame. But for other things, I would like to tell you is that it is not that 10 years from now or anything, because we spotted talent and nurtured it since 1987, 1988. Baichung Bhutia was one of our scouted
Hi,
talents,
Joe.
and he is the biggest player that we have produced so far. And then we had this fellow, Dilip Tirki. Dilip Tirki was India captain, now member Rajya Sabha. And then a whole lot of them, I don't know how many to name. Then we had Dinko Singh, Shamlal, Limbaram, Dhuti Chand. It goes on, maybe hundreds of them came and they stayed for. So talent scouting as such has a principle. If you go to there is a model now, LTDA, Long Term Athlete Development Program, which Canada has pioneered, but the world is doing it. They have put it into some structure and they have brought it to forward. Firstly, you scout a talent. In scouting a talent, you have the coach's eye. What we call the coach's eye. That a coach will see a boy playing football or basketball and say that this fellow would be a big player tomorrow. So that is how we scout talent, in which already there is a proven talent, but the age is there on the side of the player because maybe he is an 8-year, 12-year, 14-year-old child. And then we put them to test. Then test after the test, we will put them into camps, camps of 3 months, 6 months, and see whether, okay, a person can have talent, but a person may not sustain the pressure of the training that we do. So there are many fallouts. Maybe a person is brilliant in talent, but then he would not like to exert that much. there is an average talent who would like to exert and become and polish his own skill. So that is another talent, and that is another way of looking at it. And then we sustain it. So we have the schemes from 8 years to 14 years to, there's one scheme. Then there's another scheme of say 14 years to 21 years, and then there is a scheme for, if in 21 years we have not played for the country, then the very seldom chance. There are late starters who get glory very late, but then normally till 21, 22, you know whether a person has that material or not. So then we carry on with it, and now with a lot of sports science support that we give to our players, like right from their food and nutrition and supplements and prevention of injuries and all those things. So we carry on like that. Yeah, Pratik.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, guys, can you all come on your cameras for some time so that I can take a nice picture of you guys, and you people can also take. Can you all come online? Can you all on your, how many of you ever can? Yeah. Anjali, Satvik, Aditya.
Oh, they are all in their homes.
Yeah, sir, it's online for them still. Poor things. What all I could have done with this batch, it's sometimes I feel in Kannada we say that halliddaga kadle illa, kadle iddaga hallilla anta. In the sense, when you have teeth, you don't have the facility. When facilities are there, you don't have the teeth. This particular batch, it's so energetic, and unfortunately, and I am handling for the after a long time, and yeah, I have to teach them distance. I feel like cursing myself.
I curse my own fortune because in my time Corona didn't happen. I had to go to college all the time.
No, sir, but I'm in the college. I'm in the college. Children are not here, but
People feel
yeah.
blessed or cursed, huh? Students are feeling blessed or cursed being in home.
That they should say.
Curse, sir.
Cursed.
It's way too long now
Sir,
being at home.
definitely
बहुत
cuz.
बहुत बहुत दिन हो
Yeah,
गया नहीं
बहुत सारा sir. It's too long. Too long.
घर में ज़्यादा रहना भी मुसीबत है. My daughter also feels that she has enough of me now. मेरी शक्ल देख देख के परेशान हो गई है.
It's like coming to college without students. It's compulsory for us to come to college.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we are all in the college without students. I feel like, at least when I don't do complete my work, I can scold students. How much do I do for you? Still, my work is not something I can do. But now there are no students. Whom do I shout at?
Yeah, so it was wonderful to spend some time with all of you, and it's always nice to interact with young people who ask questions, because I have been doing this in various forms with the various universities. If people don't ask questions, लगता है बेकार हो गया सारा कुछ. So you asked questions. It was wonderful to be with you, and anything, anytime, and Mountaineering Girl can talk to Madam, and we can do maybe whatever we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice, sir. That's very nice, and thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
You have been encouraging, supportive all the time since the day I know you. You are the same. God bless you, sir. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks a lot, Madam. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
sir.
Bye bye, all of you,
Thank
and
you, sir.
have a good time.
Thank you, sir.
I wish you get back to your campuses fast.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay. Right, sir. Okay, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
See you.